So
Okay,
I have a question for you.
you
We're
betcha.
recording, right?
Yes.
I just want to know, like, what is the majority of the phone calls that you receive in Agent Locator from your clients right now? Like, what is the biggest objective that seems to be repeating?
Lead quality. So lead quality because these are, raw leads from the internet. So there's the frustrations around like I'm calling, they're not answering. Of course, I can go back on the fact of like how often when I look at their systems.
Mhm.
So lead call like they're not answering their phone calls, or they're just looking, or they're waiting, right? They're waiting for the market shift, or something is either it's going to crash, or
Mhm.
all of a sudden it's going to be like super attractive. And yeah, so that's generally it. But a lot of it is like lead quality. They're frustrated that they're not getting deals. They've been at it for so long. Everyone seems to be just looking.
And you don't want to stop the lead gen, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you want people.
Yes.
So, and for those of you that are on and listening, I would love for you to confirm what you're feeling based on what Crystal is saying. And if you are able to come on and just kind of voice, right, your big objections or objections that you're coming up with, and let's talk it out. Let's work through it. And I want to know and understand your market because we're here in the States, our market's totally different. Our interest rates are different. Um, and how we get a loan here is very
Mm-hmm.
different. So, Crystal, whenever you said, I'm waiting,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's waiting. Like nobody
Mm-hmm.
just wants to like move,
Yeah.
unless it's something like really exciting, right? Like, ooh, I'm moving in with my boyfriend, or ooh, like
Yeah.
that's fun, right?
And yeah, and like I said, that's more of like a not right now. Or you kind of touched on it, I believe, the last webinar is they have a backup plan. They don't have to move, so there's no urgency behind it. So they're just kind of sitting and waiting to see what kind of happens to figure out that perfect time
Yeah.
to pull the trigger.
Yeah. And understanding the difference between an objection
Mm-hmm.
and their position of where they are in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like an objection to me is not, I'm waiting for my children to graduate university because I can't move out of that school zone until they're finished.
Yes.
That's not an objection.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's frustrating, right? Because I want to show you homes. I
Yeah.
want money in my bank account.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
And that's where you really have to go into that plan B and go, okay, so if they're not ready to buy now, what if they would be in a position if the right opportunity came by? Would they be in a position to buy now? And that's where I want to get a feel for
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in your market and what are you hearing? What
Mm-hmm.
is preventing people from buying? Why are people buying? Why are people selling? So come on, somebody
Mm-hmm.
raise their hand. Come on.
Yeah.
Y'all multitask. You're like, oh, I'll be on the
uh,
webinar, but I'm not really on the webinar. Busted. Thank you, Amit. I can go. All right, can you talk?
so yes, allow
Bring him
Mitch
on.
to talk.
Bring him on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
All
Okay, yeah,
right.
so I can share with you what's going on in my business.
Where's your
So
market?
yes, my market is GTA. So I'm in a city called Mississauga.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's just a suburb of the Toronto area.
Yes.
So basically, what I've been finding, I've been very happy with Agent Locator. Been working with the system for more than a year now. And it's been very successful for me in terms of the lead generation and even the conversion. But I have to
There's the
basically,
butt.
yes, comment you about, the system is what makes it work. Like I've had experience where, I've been following up with people and I drop the follow up for a couple of months. And then I call and they say, oh, we bought a house last month. It's like, oh my God, so.
Yeah.
So
Punch to
just
the gut,
follow.
right?
Oh my God, yes, the
Yeah.
following of the system is so critical, is so crucial. And if that does not happen, then miss sales.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, yeah, lead quality is there, but I mean, of course, with online, I understand that it takes time. However, when you talk about following up and just getting their story has been the game changer for me.
Mhm.
So when I'm calling, I'm not focusing on making the sale or starting to, okay, let's go and sit in my car and let's see houses,
Yeah.
but just to see where they are at. But one objection that I get all the time is, we're just looking, and there is a hesitation to even discuss about where they are in the whole process of buying and selling. They just point blank don't want to discuss that because it's some random person, that they don't even remember signing up is
Yeah.
calling them. So that
Yeah.
was one of my main objection or one of the main hurdle that I'm experiencing.
And we're not going to win them all. And we really can't, let's just say, cry over spilled milk. Some people are going to be very open and ready for conversation and comfortable with conversation. Other people are like, because it's almost like they go through this embarrassment of, oh God, I had to put my freaking email address in and put my freaking
Right,
number
right.
in. Here you are calling me. And I really just wanted to know what the price of this home was, right?
Hmm.
And so I think there is a little bit of an embarrassment because people don't feel comfortable saying, I'm never buying a house.
Hmm.
So they would rather just hang up on you. And that's
Right.
why we cannot take it personally because we have no idea. I mean, their cat may just got run over by a car 10 minutes before we called them. Like, we have no idea what's going on in their world. I don't even know where I pulled that out of, but we just have no idea what's happening in people's lives when we're making that initial phone call. And I think that's why we do have that phone hesitation because we can't see what's happening on the other end. So I
Mm-hmm.
just chalk those up as maybe a bad day. But, for those of you that have been following these webinars and have watched the live calls, when when you get somebody with a resistance, tap into like that energy of what they're feeding out because you can really feel if, well, F you too. All right, boom, trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get that, well, they must just be having a really bad day.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've had people be rude to me, but then you call them back weeks later, a month later, and they're like bipolar people. Like you're like,
Yeah.
I can't believe like I'm reading these notes of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just catching people at that opportune time. And to your point, right? The more we work the dashboard, the more conversations we're having, and the more that we are setting ourselves up. And I'm just going to point blank say it to get lucky because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of
Mhm.
the day, that's really what has to happen because we're in 2025. People do not have commitment anymore. They want easy. They want it to be laid out for them at the right time, at the right place. You can have a buyer agreement with a buyer and then they decide to change their mind. Buyer agreement still in place 4 months later. If we haven't maintained that contact, they ain't going to remember you because you're not important to them, unfortunately.
Right. Right. So Beverly, just so people who I have been generated online, I've had no connection with them. I've called them a number of times, but 14 calls have now been done.
Yep.
After that, do I just let go of that, just put them on my automated somehow system, and then don't call them back, or do you recommend a certain frequency to still reach out to them?
So you have to remember you always have leads coming in. And it's almost like recycling. Your trash bin's only going to get so full before you got to take out the trash. You don't just keep
Mhm.
adding to the trash and keep adding to the trash and keep the trash, right? We got to get rid of it. However, when we're looking at leads, some of those people that are completely non-responsive for weeks, months, years, even, we have no idea where they are in the journey in their process because we've never spoke to them and they've never responded to any communication. So we're just flying blind. So when you're following up with all of your filters, you're not going to have a whole lot of time that you need to spend in your dashboard because you're all caught up. So you can look at it as one way as I took care of all of the low-hanging fruit. I don't need to work my system because I'm busy. I have other business going on. But if you don't have business going on and you have goals, you can go back to that. And I always look at that group as, all right, I have leads that registered 30 days ago up within 90 days. So 30 to 90 days gives you like that 90-day span of when they registered. How often are they coming back to the system? Are they actively engaged? And you can look at this group as two different ways to work it. You can just call them once a quarter and just attempt, right? Because those are quick, 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next. And oddly enough, after a few months, that's kind of where you start getting the answers. Because if they came into your dashboard, then something happened in their life that they were on doing research and they probably fell into a lot of agents' websites. But 99.9% of the agents never follow up after a said certain amount of time. So now their phones aren't ringing because now they're stagnant and they're not really looking because they're not proactively looking because now they've created the reactions. They don't have to be proactive, right? So if phone's not ringing, so you have honestly, you have a higher opportunity of them answering the phone later in the game. But then you can also look at it in two different categories. These people are actively engaged and looking at homes. I want to try to call them because I think I have a higher chance if they're actively engaged. They're going to know who I am because they're getting emails. Now, the people that haven't opened any emails, the people that have not looked at anything for those 30 to 90 days, to your point, I'm not a huge fan of automation because I never know what my position is going to be when people respond to the automation. So I like to have control. That's what it is. Call a spade a spade. I like to have control, right? So if I'm sitting down and I have my group of people that have been completely inactive from 30 to 90 days, and then break it up 91 days to 150 days, 151 days to 200 days, right? Like break up those groups so that you're not mass messaging and like creating a frenzy, because if they do respond to a text message, you're like, ah. So reaching out to them when you know you have the time to manage some text messages and just asking that simple question. Hey, reaching out. I know at one point you were looking for homes, just wondering if a new home is on the target for you, if a new home is in your future. And just ask that yes, no question. It's okay to ask those closed-ended questions via text message because you just want a damn response. And it's easier to type yes or no than it is to for these people to like respond back to a dictation. And sometimes we kind of miss that memo. So there's a couple of different ways you can work those old leads depending on your time capacity and just breaking them up into being active and non-active. Does that help?
That does help. Thank you so much.
Of course. And you know, I think sometimes we forget to just ask those targeted, pinpointed questions. You know, here we are coming the end of the year, and people at this point right now, school has already started. So the majority of the buyers have pushed to get in before school starts. So I look at this market coming up seasonally. These are the have-to people that have to move because nobody really wants to move at this time of year unless they absolutely have to. Lease is up, job location, neighbor just pissed them off and they're like, I'm out of here, right? Like we never know. So, but these are like have-to movers that we're moving into. And to your point, right? Like if we don't know their story, we have no idea. So it's just sending those quick little messages saying, hey, but keep it short and sweet. And think about every time you receive a text, how and when do you respond? If you're busy and you're out showing homes all day and you're back to back to back and you get a text message, do you respond immediately or like, ooh, like, do you hurry up and respond? Or is it one that you're like, oh gosh, that person sent me a text message. I'm going to get to them on my next stop. And then your next stop, a fire happens. You're like, right? And then by the end of the day, you got 10 more text messages and you forgot about it. So, and that person may even be a priority to you, but these people, I'm sorry, they don't care about you right now. And until they're under contract, they don't care. You're not a priority yet. So it's just really trying to find those yes, nos and asking those targeted questions. And we have this beautiful technology now called
Mhm.
ChatGPT, right? It gives you the questions. You put the goal into ChatGPT and say, I have leads that are X months old. They have not been active in my system. This is what's going on with my market. Educate your chat. Educate your chat. This is what's going on with my market. I want to ask a very pinpointed question because I want my leads to be engaged. What is my question that I ask? So utilize the intelligence that we have right at our fingertips and really make this easier for you. So the more information you give
Mhm.
ChatGPT, the more it can help you to refine and it remembers. So it remembers what you sent out. So you can even mold, say, hey, that first question we asked, I want to build on that and ask it to give you a series of questions of yes, nos, just to get responses. And then it'll tell you like when to go in to ask that question to receive a sentence back.
Mhm.
But if we educate ChatGPT on our market, on what's happening, it's going to come back with a more educated questions that we can pinpoint our audience and trying to hit them by email, by text. Play with voicemails,
Mhm.
right? It is a completely different time right now. And honestly, voicemails, everybody's reading them anyway. Nobody listens to them anymore. So it's okay to leave that voicemail and ask ChatGPT, hey, if I leave a voicemail, what is a quick response voicemail that I could leave that would get somebody to return that call or shoot me a text back? And another really good one is you want to get these people to save your phone number. Ask ChatGPT, what engagement can I have? What would make my stale lead save my phone number? And you might be surprised at the responses that you get. Because I know, like, I watch people and you're out and about, and people save numbers all the time because they want to know who's popping up on their phone. So asking people to save your number is not at all off the
Mhm.
chart. And it's just, hey, if you ever have a question about the real estate market that you want a quick answer to, save my number. And then that way they know who you are whenever you text them. You don't know who's saving your number,
Mhm.
but you don't know who's saving your number. Did you catch how I said it differently?
It's a good way too, because again, if there is a time lapse between the conversations that we're having or attempts of calls, your number, if it's not saved, it's just going to show up as a phone number again. So you might be going through that same obstacle course of getting them to answer the call again, uh, from them just recognizing the same number popping up. Whereas if you encourage them to get that number saved in their phone, at least they can identify who it is that's calling and potentially or possibly increase the chances of them answering that call.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we have a comment in the chat.
We got Sackett. It says mortgage qualification is preventing a lot of buyers' expectation versus affordability, looking in an area or housing type they can't afford and waiting for a miracle, waiting for prices to drop to buy low or scared to buy when prices are dropping. Media influence.
Isn't it a great time to be in real estate?
Yeah.
We can't change that, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
certain dynamics that we just can't change. I was talking with an agent. I think we may have touched on this, Crystal, on one of our
Mm-hmm.
webinars, and just about the rental market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me looking at our prices here in Virginia, I'm completely mortified at what first-time home buyers are paying for homes. And I'm not even going to say paying for homes. I'm going to be saying paying for homes that are in dire need of repair.
Mm-hmm.
because their affordability bracket, back to what Sakit said, like my expectations as the realtor are higher than my actual buyers.
Yeah.
Because I feel like my 75-year-old dad, right? That, because our parents don't ever like really grow with the technology and the times. And I really feel like technology and times have passed me by, not so much the technology, but the prices of the real estate market. I'm like, I turned around like, what happened to the real estate market? Because it to me, it's just not worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is so fun about this market, because we have to make the hard fun. Because if we don't, it's not fun, right? But it really allows for such a more deeper conversation with your buyers to talk to them about those frustrations and meet them where they are. Because the reality is, it may not be a good time for them to buy.
Mm-hmm.
If we're trying to sit there talking them into something and trying to tell them otherwise, there's got to be something back here telling you, like, I'm really pushing this and this isn't right, but I really need to make money too.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got property management companies, you've got apartments, they're busting at the seams right now
Mm-hmm.
because people can't afford to make those purchases. And when we're making those relationships with people, you just don't know who they know. Because sometimes it's not about who you know. The average person knows 100 people. So let's say you, as example, you know 100 people. But if you have 25 people right in front of you that you're creating relationships with, and they know 100 people, somewhere within all those people, someone's moving. Someone can
Mm-hmm.
afford it. Because I promise you, if you go online right now, there were closings today and yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Promise. Real estate is still popping. Real estate is still happening. You're just not seeing it potentially because you're fishing in the wrong pond.
Mm-hmm.
So and I can never say this enough, know your market. And then I get, well, how do I know my market? Study the multi-list. Look at what is selling. Go back over this year and look at, hone in, right? Hone in. The smaller your target, the broader your range. Because when you're shooting with that rifle, you're aiming right at that bullseye. But with you shoot that BB gun, you're spreading those little BBs all over the place and you don't know where they're going to land. But if you hone in into your sandbox, it's not excruciating to really dive into that market and look at every home that's sold over the period of time. Who was the buyer agent? Who was the listing agent? Who has market dominance in certain neighborhoods? Go look at their marketing. What are they doing to get these closings? Are they working with estate attorneys? Are they on the radio? Are they sending out mailers? Like, we don't know until we know.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know what your competition is doing, level it up. Do it a little bit better. And if you're looking at a particular neighborhood, don't try to outdo somebody that has more than 35% market share, because you're never going to penetrate. Save your dollars, save your time, but that's why we need to know our markets, because when we know that someone has market share in a particular neighborhood, hands off, find another neighborhood. Know your market, study your market, and know your agents and what they're doing. And just, well, I call it trump them, right? Because Donald Trump's philosophy is always don't reinvent the wheel. Take what somebody
Mm-hmm.
else is doing and just do it a little bit better. Because when they're at the top, they're usually not paying attention to competition and they get passed by, which hence comes that saying, Netflix them.
Mm-hmm.
Because Netflix Blockbuster, Ubered the taxis. There's always companies that are coming out that are taking over. And I don't know if you'll have Crunch Fitness up in Canada. I think they are. I think they might be in Canada, but Crunch Fitness is taking the United States by storm because they've leveraged the exact needs of what people are looking for in fitness. And it's not these boutique studios that are charging $150 and $200 for your memberships that are limiting you. People want to pay 25, 30 bucks to go to an all-inclusive gym that gives them everything. So when they move on into a neighborhood, man, gyms are scared. They got brand new equipment, they got brand new everything. People are fleeing and the other gyms are hurting. So everything is always meant to be one-upped. You just have to decide what it is that you want to one-up because real estate is selling. And we talk about all the time, Crystal, like define that niche. Because if you're trying to be all things to all people, man, you're spreading everything way too thin. It's too much.
Yeah.
Pick first-time home buyers. I'll tell you a beautiful niche is transitioning elderly into senior care because they all have a home to sell and educating them on that senior care process and working with and affiliating with senior care facilities. Those senior care facilities, they got people coming to them that need a realtor. Find your niche. Who can you affiliate with? Joint venture. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back because I promise you, you are not the only business struggling in this market. A lot of businesses are struggling, and a lot of businesses that are open-minded to growth will attempt to cross market, will attempt a joint venture. And just remember, it's not all about who you know, it's all about who they know. And it's just really wanting to get creative with how you're going to be marketing yourself and what you want to do with your market. Because yeah, media influence is huge. The media is there to scare the bejesus out of people to prevent a lot of things that they shouldn't even be listening to.
And there's a lot of real estate experts out there. You know, they hear one thing from a friend and that's the news, right? And here in Canada, we've blocked social media from being able to share any news outlet. So any news content, like I have friends in the States, they'll share like something from whatever news channel, it's blocked in Canada.
Really?
We can't see the news on social media. So it's really anyone that's watching the news or reads a newspaper or, you know, specifically goes to a news site. Other than that, I find for anything, not even just real estate, anything is all just hearsay coming from one person to the next, the next, the next, next. And, you know, the understanding from a lot of people, regardless of whatever the topic is very minimal. It's just what they heard. Right.
So does that limit you on the posts that you can make? And the things that you say in your posts?
No, like a lot of people will take a screenshot of like what it is. That I don't know how long it'll last if Facebook finds it because it's associated with whatever. But if you're talking and content and whatever, you're not associated as a news outlet, then it's essentially probably free speech. But yeah, any articles that are pulled from any kind of news source is not allowed. Yeah.
And Crystal, that's such a great point because if we don't know what's going on within our market and within our surroundings, those little things make big impacts on anything that we're trying to penetrate. So you really have to become that investigator and look for the problem and be the solution.
Yeah.
Because we can all make excuses all day long, but excuses don't put money in the bank, right? Nope. The more that we're looking for the problem, and again, my favorite saying, right, is be the umbrella on a rainy day, because no matter how many umbrellas people have, if they get stuck without an umbrella, they're buying a new one.
Yeah.
So if you can find that hook that is going to solve people's problems, that keep people awake at night, you attract
Mhm.
instead of chase. And
Yeah.
that's really the name of the game, is what can what can your marketing and your message do to attract? And
Exactly.
people are only attracted to what's going to make life easy for them.
Mhm.
I mean, oh my gosh, like, have you heard of the sous vide? And there's a sous vide and the Tovio. It's you get these meal plans, you pop them in, and it's like it'll
Okay.
refrigerate for, like, the sous vide will hold as a refrigerator. So in the
Yeah.
morning, you can put the food in, it holds as a refrigerator, and
Mhm.
then it'll start cooking and be ready whenever you walk in the door.
Yeah.
And you can do a family meal or a single meal.
Mhm.
And then now they have the air fryer within the sous vide. People are just looking for easy, and they'll pay $15 for this meal to
Mhm.
plug in there just so they don't have to think about, right? And you're actually, it may seem expensive to buy that meal,
Mhm.
but you're not going to the store and adding extra stuff to your cart.
Yeah.
You're sticking with what it is that you're eating, and you don't have the extras. You don't
Mhm.
have the wasted leftovers. So they know the pain point to market to.
Mhm.
And that sous vide shows up in everything.
Yeah.
Right. I
Oh,
had one. I
yeah.
don't have it anymore. But I loved it. It's just a great way to make
People
food.
look
But
for
that's just an example.
it.
What
And it
easy.
goes on to the convenience factor as well, right? So being convenient to your leads, not and kind of going back onto what Amit said is not letting too much time pass, because we never know when that convenience is, because we could be missing them. And I think a lot of us, we get in our own heads and we think that we're bothering people. But then, it kind of goes into, well, what are we talking, or how are we speaking to them that we feel like we're actually bothering them? Because again, this goes back to customer service. There should be nothing that we feel like we're bothering someone. We just want to take care of them. And then some people will not make the call because they hesitate, or they didn't leave enough notes. So they don't know, they don't really, it's just one liner note, which is very vague.
Yep.
And now you're calling back and you really don't remember who this person is. So all of those things kind of play a part in the overall effect of, what we're doing, and being consistent and keeping ourselves top of mind and being convenient. One thing that, kind of off topic of that, is for any of you that have been with us for a little while, that are, I'm going to say, from COVID era, look at your leads that registered back in those years, right? Some of them probably have purchased.
Oh yeah.
Now, there's a lot of individuals that they bought high interest. Their mortgages are up for renewal. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens this next 6 to 12 months, that those individuals with those mortgages coming up to roll in a house that's now, they bought higher than what they would actually be able to sell it for in this current time. So there could be a lot of troubled homeowners out there. So that's one audience to fish for in your system, is those potential buyers that may have bought back. Maybe we missed those opportunities, but now they might be in a situation where they're having to look at options.
Absolute fact. And I love going back to previous markets, right? And again, knowing your market. One of my big campaigns that I ran, because we had the crash in 2007, 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had all these buyers up through 2010 that bought like super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So as you move forward, going to 2015, all those buyers that bought cheap in 2009, 2010, a lot of the buyers in my market were on that 3 to 5 year plan. They had
Mm-hmm.
so much equity, and some people didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
educating people, finding that farming list and scrubbing the database and trying to get phone numbers. There's company out there. I promise you can get phone numbers. I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just how much work do you want to do to get it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my thing is, if you don't have business, do the work.
Yeah.
Knock on the doors. Educate yourself with where they might be. and even scrub your multi-list, right? You can go
Mhm.
back and find who bought a home from this date to this date. It's going to pull up all the homes that sold
Mhm.
and then filter it down to which homes have sold since.
Mhm.
And if you don't know how to do that in your multi-list, figure it out, right? Talk to the
Mhm.
multi-list company, see if there's a way that you can filter that out. I know we are multi-list, we can filter that out. But it might be a little bit of a hiccup to get there.
Mhm.
But once you get there, you got a list of people that have not sold since that date, like Crystal's saying. And
Mhm.
there's a message there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's just a phone call to say, hey, at one point you had been looking at homes. I'm just wondering kind of where are you in your journey of a home purchase? Is it still on the radar? It's not intrusive. It's just a question.
Mhm.
Now, be careful when you ask that question because you
Mhm.
may get answers that you're not prepared for.
Yeah. But even going back to looking at the MLS list, that's also a great way to target neighborhoods for door knocking. So if you notice there's a high turnover area that a lot of people bought 5 to 7 years ago, those people of 5 to 7 years ago may be in that situation where they're getting ready to move on to next stage in their life. And then
Yep.
again, looking at market share, making sure we're not in a neighborhood or community that is totally dominated by a specific realtor. Because again, especially if they're representing on the buying side, then they're likely going to be the listing agent as well again. But yeah, it's a great way. I know way back in the day, that's how we would target specific neighborhoods for door knocking, is based on a turnover rate, high turnover neighborhoods.
The key, I'm reading your chat
Mm-hmm.
and it says, Crystal, you're 100% correct. Everyone out there is a real estate expert. And immediately my mind went to people aren't looking for experts, they're looking for real.
Mm-hmm.
So taking that message and reversing it, I'm no expert, but I'm a real person in a real market, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm frustrated with what's happening in our market. Let's talk,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that word expert advisor, I am so tired of hearing those words.
Mm-hmm.
It's so overused.
But I think he's like referring to the how everyone's influenced by individuals that don't really know. They and you can spot them in the crowd. You can spot them at these parties. You challenge anything that they say if you actually have some knowledge and understanding and any of topic that somebody is talking as if they know what they're talking about. You know who actually educates themselves and reads the news and really has a good understanding as to what's going on versus those who just take information and just pass it along.
Mhm. That's a fact. But it's all wordplay,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, Talk to ChatGPT. Say, hey, I want to do some wordplay. Everybody's an expert in real estate. I want to twist my message. What would be receptive to people in this category? Whether they're first-time home buyers, what's the problem in your market?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the number one thing I learned whenever I was doing radio advertising, because if I was paying that much money for radio advertising, I wanted to hit the target.
Yeah.
So I had to really discover the problem. And yeah, the radio ads are like, oh, you got to run the guaranteed sale and you'll buy the house. And I'm like, that's not the problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is people can't afford their freaking mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
So I spun my message and said, guaranteed sale or I'll pay your mortgage. And that spoke way more volumes than buying the house. So
Yeah.
I had to find the problem though. I had to find like, why were people selling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
You've got, I mean, here in the States, people are losing tech jobs like wildfire right now. Government employees are, I mean, it's by the thousands.
mm-hmm.
Every day I hear of somebody that's lost their government job, that's lost a techie job, and they cannot find it. Well, one of my best friends, he worked for a company out of California. They repositioned. They were a
Mm-hmm.
baby company. They went from 80 employees to like 500. And they're like,
Mhm.
okay, wait, we're repositioning. Laid off 50 people a year ago. Yeah, a year ago, August.
Mhm.
He's probably put out, I can't tell you how many resumes, not to mention how many interviews he's had that he can't get in. I mean, he can't move,
Yeah.
but he's worried about his mortgage
Yeah.
because he can't get a job.
Well, it's tricky too. Like I've looked at the job market down in Silicon Valley and just out of curiosity, just to see what they pay people for tech jobs out there, you still need to have 2 jobs for half the jobs that are out there
Heck
to be
yeah.
able to afford to live there, or you're driving at least an hour, hour and a half to work just to be able to survive. They don't pay a lot. So if that industry out there, well, obviously some pay a lot, but the average ones don't seem to be wanting to pay a lot of startup companies, right? Which is also risky, depending on the company itself. So yeah, it's, I think in any job market as well, it's, you can see that, company owners are trying to cut back labor costs for sure.
And that's a big trend to watch in your market
Mhm.
because that highly affects movement.
Mhm.
Because if there's a lot of layoffs, and people are going to be stuck and they're going to come back to your point, Crystal, where they're going to be
Mhm.
struggling with their mortgages.
Mhm.
So I mean, I feel the job market's one of the most important things to know about your community.
Mhm.
What's going on? Who's your big hitters on who's hiring? See if, if you have if you're in a big relocation area, right? Find out who is in charge of that relocation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rub noses with people, find out what's going
Mhm.
on. You may not get the benefits of the relocation, but I promise you, you'll get educated
Mhm.
because
We
they
had
love
one.
to answer questions.
We had one that focused around one of the bases around here, and that was her, not around here, but in Ontario. And that was her niche. She did a lot of relocations for people coming to, move to that base, from wherever it was, to live around that area. And I'm sure, there's other places where there's base. So it's having that little niche, because then your site, again, if you're offering information and guidance, then you're that expert. You're the expert that's going to be able to help them with whatever that problem is that they need to
And you
solve.
can be the expert without saying you're the expert.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're
I'm
just
your
delivering
go-to.
really good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, exactly.
Let
Right.
them call you
So
the expert, not yourself.
yeah, yeah. She knows what she's doing. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what our messages always need to be to our leads.
Mhm.
It's just, I always say education, right?
Yeah.
Just educate people.
Know your market, because that knowledge is, and that confidence in what you're delivering will build the confidence in the individual that you're speaking to.
Yes. Well, so I'm just going to use an example because everything in my life is an example. So I needed a towel for my
Mhm.
yoga mat, right? So I went on Amazon. I got a 2-pack. I got a 2-pack for 25, super cheap.
Mhm.
Dropped up my Amazon cart. I need it like now. Like if I'd have gone to the store, I'd have bought it.
Mhm.
But I haven't like pushed the button to have it delivered. I
Mhm.
don't know why. I don't know why. Like it's like booking a plane ticket. I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
wait. I'm gonna wait. Then
Yeah.
but like people's habits, right? You go online, you look for something, and then life gets in the way. You just don't push that button.
Yeah.
But if someone were to call me right now and say, Bev, you got those yoga mat or you got those yoga towels in your cart. Hey, I see what you have in there. It's like this fiber and it's this moisture wicking. There's another towel. It might be just a little bit more. I'd be like, oh, dang, yeah, right? Because I have an interest in it.
Mhm.
So don't think for a second that the people in your dashboard don't have an interest in real estate. They do. It's
Mhm.
just the approach and their
Mhm.
response
Just a not
because
yet.
defensive,
Mhm.
not yet. Yeah, like don't bother me. I don't want to waste your time.
Mhm.
I really don't want to talk about it because if I talk about it, I might talk myself into moving. And that's really
Yeah.
what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I tell everyone I would be your worst lead in your system. You would absolutely hate me. I'd be that one person that you're like, I call this for, they never answer, never, like, it's like if I've ever, and obviously now I don't do that. I know how to do my searches
Right.
differently. But in the past, I just feel like, hey, don't, I was just checking something out. No intentions of moving. Like, you can feel free to check in down the road, but I was just doing this and this, this. I was
Yeah.
just like, it's not even on the vision board yet.
But thank you for letting me know, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And thank you for,
yeah,
that's all I need to
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Because the more notes I have, then it
Hmm.
comes down to the tags, right? Then I can put you on the shelf
Yeah,
and shop you later.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love that. It's not on my vision board yet. That's actually a really good question for a text message.
Yeah.
Do you have a home on your vision board? I
Yeah.
love that. That's a really good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
And then you'll get some wise ass to say, "What's a vision board?"
yeah, right.
You're like, "Guess not.
No, no.
See you later."
Yeah. Different ways. It's being creative to get the responses that we're looking for is really what it comes down to, and staying consistent with what we're doing. Not deleting your leads. I jumped into a system today who she wants to book booking a training, and same common feedback. Leads aren't very good. I've been doing this for so long, haven't got a deal out of it. I jumped into the system. The majority of her leads are archived. I was like, okay,
Nobody's getting
well,
any
no
communication.
one's getting anything. No one's like, and it was, and again, I haven't had a conversation to really, determine her mythology around anything. But again, just because they're not looking right now doesn't mean that they're not going to buy ever. So unless we can't communicate with them because they don't have a good phone number and they don't have a good email, then 100% keep them in your dashboard. It doesn't hurt you to keep them in there, because you never know when one of them is just going to raise their hand all of a sudden.
It's data. That is your retail to your business in the service industry. Your
Mm-hmm.
data is what sells businesses. Businesses buy businesses because of the data.
Mm-hmm.
And the more organized your data, the more valuable your leads are,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the conversations are so important.
Yeah.
Even if you get a response in a text message and you find the reason of why they would need you at any point of their home buying process or home selling process, then
Mm-hmm.
you can tag them and you have a very organized dashboard because you know what it would take for them to make that move.
Yeah.
But we can't
Absolutely.
force anybody to move if it's not within their timeline. Can we offer suggestions? Absolutely. And that was kind of what we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about in the very beginning of this call of,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes up a lot with like retirees, like, well, I'm thinking about retiring in a few years and I'm looking for that retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just out of curiosity, if you found a smoking deal today, is it something that you might want to think about pulling the trigger on, or do you have to wait until you retire? Well, it depends. What does it depend on? Right? Well, it would have to be the absolute right home. Well, tell me about the absolute right home. What does it look like? We're just getting more information,
Mm-hmm.
getting information. And that's where we can see, I'm going to go back to Sakit, right? That's where we can go back and match the expectations with what's actually out there.
Yeah.
So we can determine, are they smoking crack and it ain't ever going to happen?
Yeah.
Or are they within reach?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody has a make me move number. If they say
Mm-hmm.
they don't, they lie.
Oh, ask it too. Ask it. If the price is right, would you consider selling? And a lot of them will say yes. Okay, so now we need to figure out what that looks like.
What's that price?
Yeah, what is that price?
And you might be surprised. I had one of my coaching clients, it was so funny. We had that conversation. And I asked him, I'm like, do you have a make me move price? He's like, I don't know. He's like, you know what? I do. And within 2 weeks, he has home on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it was not even on his radar.
Yeah. He didn't realize. A lot of
The
people.
coaching client, we were having this conversation. He's like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Because some people just
Don't.
market pass me by, right?
Yeah. They don't even
Market
watch.
pass me by. Some people, I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, yeah, we're going to go to Florida for 3 months and we're going to Airbnb our home for 3 months. And I'm like, huh, wow, it really is 2025. Like, that's
Yeah.
just, I'm like, what
Yeah.
a brilliant idea. Now, I don't want anybody, like, I wouldn't want anybody in my shit. Like, like
Yeah.
I do so
Yeah.
much to lock up my stuff, but I'm like, what a way. If you work from home and you just need an internet and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you can pick up and transport yourself somewhere else and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about like, wonder how many people are doing that, right? That's a whole
A
other,
lot. A lot.
right? That's a whole
Yeah.
other like gamut to self-discover. And you give someone that idea, you're the
Yeah.
expert now.
Yeah. Yeah.
My God, that's so cool. You might not get the sale out of it,
Mm-hmm.
but they're going to tell all their friends.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I was talking to so-and-so and they gave me this really cool idea. So as long as we're not fighting against people trying to like push them into something that's not natural, think of all the solutions and they may come to the conclusion themselves. It's like, I really have to move right now because all these other options are not good options.
Yeah. They don't fit.
They don't fit. Yeah, but they don't know until they don't know. And we have to realize we're so close to the situation and I say we're like if I'm the seller, and I remember whenever I was selling my 5,000 square foot house because I had my second home in Atlanta, that was my home in Virginia, and my daughter was in that house. She goes, Mom, this house is just too big. And I'm like, my mortgage is so cheap. I don't want to get rid of my mortgage. It's so cheap.
Yeah.
But then it's like I'm looking at the upkeep.
Yeah.
Right? The house was like cusping on that like 15, 10-ish to 12 years old.
Yeah.
So you can start thinking appliances and hot water tank, and now things start breaking because they don't last as long as they used to. So I'm like, yeah, I have a cheap mortgage, but I was so close to the situation. I was too emotionally attached to be able to make decisions on my own, that I needed that outside source to talk the different strategies of if then what?
Yeah.
You could do this. You could rent this out. You could finish the basement, put money into it, rent out the top, rent out the bottom, make double rent, hang on to the house. There were so many different strategies that we talked through. Nothing felt right. So I ended up selling it, cashing out, and then I bought my daughter something smaller. But we have to remember when they're so into it and emotionally attached, they need us to help plan A, plan B, plan C, and walk through all of the what ifs and what would it look like. Because here's the thing, if people are waiting for a change in the market, you can't ever outsave the market. I'm saving money to be able to buy. What happened?
I don't know if you heard it. No, I don't know if you heard
I
it.
heard a bump. That's all I heard.
Oh no, the dogs just took off.
Came
Someone must be at
unglued.
the door. Yeah. Like, yeah.
No, I forgot what I was saying. Where did that thought go? I lost it.
Sorry.
Gone. Like I should have kept talking. I was like, "Whoop." I saw your face go, oop. Yeah.
The joy. They're so quiet until someone comes to the door.
Well, I know I was
Anyway.
talking about like people being so emotionally attached and so into it that they just can't make those decisions themselves. And that's what our job is, to bring those different opportunities of plan A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And just help them to recognize like
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming sometimes for the realtors.
I know what it was. It was literally physically like, okay, put yourself in this situation. If this happened, And then we were talking about
Mhm.
saving. You can't outsave the market. See, it's coming around.
Yeah.
Can't outsave the market because, all right, the market is what the market is right now.
Mhm.
If you want to wait and save money, prices continue to go up. It's all relative. You may have
Yes.
saved more money and it may look better in your bank account, but it's still not enough money. So
Yeah.
how long are you going to keep saving?
Yeah. And there is, and you know what, there's a lot of opportunity with those first time buyers, especially in Canada. There's different incentives, right? So understanding the processes and opportunities that are available for first time buyers, because in certain areas, certain home types, of course, they actually, instead of renting, could actually be in a position to be buying a house. They don't even know it because they're expecting that they have to have X amount of dollars down payment, which wasn't true necessarily for those first time buyers. So there is that opportunity as well. So look at your rental leads, especially the ones that are looking at prices that are 25, $3,000 up per month. They're typically can afford a mortgage.
A thought that just came to my mind too, Crystal, is studying foreign markets.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a conversation with a couple the other day, and her son does like hotel investing,
Mm-hmm.
used to do hotel investing. Once the election happened in the United States, investors have like pulled back and they're no longer investing in hotels because travel has changed so dynamically in the United States because of the borders.
Mm-hmm.
They're blocking several different countries right at the borders from coming into the United States right now. So hotels are hurting in the United States. So there's a big dynamic. So if
Mm-hmm.
you've got foreign investors that are reallocating, what does that
Mm-hmm.
look like in Canada, right? And that's what I'm saying, guys. Knowing your market is so pivotal. And when you start like really asking questions and really looking and talking to people that are educated in these different realms, you can really self-educate yourself and go, oh my God, that interests me so much. I got to dig in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta find out, like, who is buying right now? Are there international investors coming in and scooping up properties in Canada? Because it was happening like crazy here in the United States in
Mm-hmm.
certain areas. But it's a lot of that has come to a halt. And
Yeah.
when you lose those international buyers, man, that's where the cash is.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a client here that targets right around the universities in Vancouver. He gets a lot of the foreign buyers where their kids are going to university, and for them, they'll buy the condo versus spending the same amount of money in dorm payments every month. So there's an idea for y'all as well. There's,
Yeah.
there's always something. There's
Always
always
something
something.
popping, always something
Yeah.
popping in every market. You just gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. You just
Yeah.
gotta figure it out.
Exactly. Exactly.
We always have
Awesome.
great things to talk about.
There
I
you go.
love this conversation. It was super. But I really want to get into dashboards. It's been
I
a couple
know.
we've been in a
I know.
dashboard.
I know. You guys, anyone that wants to, we had somebody back out today. All my backups weren't available. So shoot me a message and I'll get you on the backup list just because, yeah,
We need
it's
more.
people book this way in advance. And of course they're probably looking at their calendar being like, what is this? And then when you call them, they're not available. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So yeah, if you
It is
guys
what
want to
it
be
is.
on the backup list, and again, anytime you guys are on here, if there isn't anyone on here, you'll always have the opportunity to raise your hand, and we can always jump in your spotlight or have you in the spotlight on the spot. So we can always make those adjustments.
Interesting. There's a foreign buyer ban in Canada. Interesting. See, there's stories behind all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That intrigues me. Just find what intrigues you and study
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Become
Yeah.
one with your chat GPT.
Yes. Right.
All righty,
Awesome.
everyone. Have a
Awesome.
great, amazing day, and we'll
You as
see you
well.
next month.
Thanks,
Thank
Bev.
you,
Bye.
Crystal.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.